stuck with us for at least one more award here. Ron and I are delighted to be here tonight to present this year's June Foray Award for significant beneficial contribution, charitable impact on the art and industry of animation to two very deserving recipients.
Bill and Sue Kroyer.
Now, I have known this dynamic duo since I began at Disney some 40 years ago. In fact, I was there with my own squinty eyes. I saw the young, vivacious, pretty belle of Racine, Wisconsin, Sue, courted by the tall, craggly, handsome, velvet-voiced Chicago expatriate Bill. I was actually even there 38 years ago with my then fiancée Gail as we witnessed Bill and Sue's wedding aboard a boat, the Princess Louise, and I see Henry Selick sitting right there, who was also there that same night when we saw Bill and Sue get married. Henry's acknowledging, yes, he was there. And look, here we are today, and these two crazy kids remain gobsmacked with each other and with animation.
And with dogs. I mean, we all love dogs. I think at least most of us do. But Sue in particular, well, actually I have 4 basset hounds, but Sue in particular has done
We will get to the dogs. We will get to the dogs. Prior to all of this, Sue had received a fellowship from the Whitney Museum in New York City. Discovering, though, that fine art wasn't really for her, Sue headed home to Wisconsin and found her true calling, animation, when she worked at her sister Karen's small animation studio there. This ironically led Sue back to Manhattan as an assistant animator, where she worked on Dick Williams' feature Raggedy Ann and Andy. And then eventually she wound up coming back to Burbank to work at Disney Features, where she met Bill, who was working on The Fox and the Hound.
A film about a dog, I might add.
Yes. Later, Bill helped launch the CG animation revolution with his game-changing work on TRON. I'm talking about the first one, boarding the landmark. Yes, let's hear it for TRON. Eh? And Bill, he storyboarded the landmark motorcycle chase. In that meantime, Sue was part of a landmark production herself, animating on Brad Bird's classic Family Dog.
That's dog, Family Dog.
Right. All this was probably Bill and Sue's establishment of Kroyer Films in 1986, where they created one of the first digitally animated shorts, Technological Threat, which was nominated for an Oscar. Yes. And they produced and directed an entire animated feature there, FernGully.
And you may know it under the alternate title, Avatar. But what I really wanted to talk about Sue and her involvement with...
Let's move on. In Kroyer Films, Bill and Sue created an independent studio that to this day is fondly recalled by the many people who got their start there as an environment that actually celebrated eccentricity and creativity. It eschewed rigidity, and it reflected the values and personalities of its leaders, namely Bill and Sue. That is, joyful, familial, quirky, honest, and fun.
Kind of like...
No, dogs, yes, I get it, dogs, right. Bill went on to a storied 12 years as the senior animation director at Rhythm and Hughes. Currently, he's serving his 3rd term as the governor of the shorts and feature animation branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures, where he has worked tirelessly to communicate to our somewhat isolated live-action brethren exactly what all the people in this room do and how it's impacting the world of live action as well. And Bill's dynamic stewardship of the digital arts program at the Dodge College of Film at Chapman University has made it one of the strongest programs of its kind. And as for Sue,
the patron saint of dogs,
yes, not only was she one of the founders of Women in Animation, she continues to share her expertise. Yes, Women in Animation. She continues to share her expertise in the many classes she teaches throughout the Southland, where she is not only a wise and sympathetic mentor, she's a kooky aunt, she's a baker of birthday cakes, and yes, she's a magnet for weird. Of course, Bill and Sue's Christmas parties are legendary. It's a place where hundreds of people who love this art form get together, they reconnect, and...
Okay, can we talk about dogs now?
Okay, fine. Talk about the dogs.
Okay, thank you. So, Sue, along with my wife Tammy, has been very involved with rescuing dogs for years and years. Tammy rescues basset hounds, and Sue founded Cocker Connection, but she doesn't only rescue dogs, she also fosters dogs, especially the needy dogs, the ones that are blind, the ones that can't walk. and that she calls them their flubby wubnubs and their floofy doggies, and it's just so adorable, and I just...
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Asifa Hollywood, we are thrilled to present the June Foray Award to two of the finest and kindest champions of animation and dogs, Bill and Sue Kroyer.
Thank you, John and Ron. Thank you, Asifa, for this wonderful and unexpected award, which is even more special because it's named after somebody we've known and loved for many years, June Foray. And of course, we want to share this with all the wonderful people we've known and worked with through the years. We'd like to thank you all by name, but they'd play us off. But we will thank a couple of people.
Well, we definitely want to thank our family, all of our friends, and everybody we've worked with in animation, and people we haven't worked with, who are all wonderful. But tonight, I'm singling out two people without whom I might not be standing on this stage, and they are Miriam McDonald from Disney and Dr. Neil Anand, my spinal surgeon. They're right over there. Please give them a big hand.
Yes.
There they are.
Yeah.
Stand up. There he is.
You know, a few weeks ago, we went to the Union holiday party at the Autry Museum. A lot of you were there. It was huge. There were thousands of people there. And it was so great to see our animation community be so strong and vibrant. You know, when Sue and I came here in 1975, it really wasn't quite like that. As a matter of fact, 3 weeks after I got here, I went to the Union T-shirt dance. And there were like 100 people there. But the room had animation legends in it. I walked in, and the first person I saw was Ward Kimball. And I knew it was him because he had those distinctive black, round eyeglasses, and he was wearing a T-shirt with a Ford logo, you know, the old logo. And I thought, oh my God, it's Ward Kimball. It's one of the 9 old men from Walt Disney Studios, which is the greatest family entertainment wholesome company in the world. And so I started to walk over to introduce myself, and as I got closer, I looked and I went, wait a minute, that doesn't say Ford. That's another 4-letter word begins with F. And I went, oh, geez. And I think that was maybe my first lesson in the animation industry was animators will always surprise you. But you know what? I actually won the door prize that night. I won the T-shirt that they all signed, and 42 years later, I still have that T-shirt. And look, here's Ward Kimball right on the front here, right there. That's Ward. And June, who else is on here? We got Ruth Kassane, one of our most famous women animators. In the back is John and Faith Hubley. And right down here, June Foray. And I looked at this the other night and I realized that's the first time I ever met June Foray. And that means that she has been in my animated life in Hollywood for my entire animated life. I've always had her to look up to as a model and as an inspiration. All the way back then, and back then when people thought that animation had already done all the good things it was going to do.
And back then, in the old days when we started at Disney, things were kind of bleak. The industry was at a low point. And even though all of our friends, we all believed in it, there were real cynics. And one of them was a guy who thought he'd make it his life's work to kind of, you know, make sure that I wasn't positive about animation. And every day when I'd walk by his room, he'd say, you're always so up. Don't you realize this art form is dead? The golden age is over. The 9 old men are leaving. Why don't you give up now and find a real job? And finally, I snapped. And I went up to him and I said, listen, you, the reason I'm here is because I've got a great party radar. And I can tell you right now, there is going to be the biggest party right here in this art form. And he just went, okay. And you never bothered me again. But when I look out here at all of you, I go, we have been lucky to be at the most wonderful party in the whole world. It just keeps getting bigger and better with the most wonderful people. So thank you, animation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, animation. Party on. Thank you, Asifa. And June Foray, 99 years old. We love you.